The Baku Grand Prix is over and done with, and we are moving on to bigger and better things, just like the Aston Martin team, who actually brought a pretty decently sized upgrade package to Baku, which we will discuss. But what is coming in the next races in the Miami GP and in Imola?
I will not attack. We are both playing the same game. The Lance, my work balance suggestion, as I am now, I think it's a good help.
Big news on that, and what we can really expect going forward with really the second best team right now on the grid. Aston Martin provided a rear wing that actually performed really well in the race while it was working, but their actual solution to solve the problem of the DRS really not opening properly on certain laps or not being able to just use it during qualifying really resulted in them losing about almost 3 to 4 tenths at least on the main straight, and we really didn't even know how much time they lost really going into turn 3. But the car definitely improved, and if you actually look at its top speed and compare it to its competitors, it was actually very competitive on its running. But not just that, the car actually improved in many other ways, and it only brought part of its actual rear upgrades. So something that was talked about and something that Alfa Romeo mentioned in some interview was that Aston Martin, being the team that it is, the bigger team right now in Formula 1 in comparison to its older days like Force India and even Racing Point, they actually brought only a partial package to its Aston Martin car. So we only got really the rear wing package part of it. We were supposed to be getting more parts, and now those parts are expected to be in Miami. There isn't any really current information, but I have some ideas of what this exactly could look like and what we really are going to expect going into Imola. The package was supposed to be consisted of more parts to the rear and even improving that top speed just that much further. Now, we saw Mercedes bring something similar to something pretty close to its rear duct brake and really just changing the angle of the way that looks to actually shred drag less. And it seemed to have worked. The Mercedes car was pretty quick. Now, we were supposed to be getting something similar to this to the actual Aston Martin, and diffuser upgrades will be coming in Imola, and the whole floor will be changing. And a picture that I got on the screen right now, it's the Red Bull car and the Aston Martin car compared. So the RB19 and the AMR 23, which are probably, by characteristics, the closest cars right now on the grid in certain aspects. Now, the biggest aspect I would really point out with these two cars is its huge undercut. But when it comes to its side pod philosophy and the way that the airflow goes from the front of the car to the back, it is different. The suspensions are different. The way that its actual curvature really, if you look at the car from a top view, that Aston Martin, the more and more we see it, more and more looks like the F175, the original Ferrari car we got in 2022. And while this probably gives that car that supreme downforce, it does give it a little bit of drag, but which is looking to already get shred, and it seems like Dan Follows is on the job, and Aston Martin expected its really drag in the car to be happening like it is. The actual floor to the Aston Martin is very simple. Now, I mean, in the middle of its side pod, right beneath the floor, is simple, but also, as you can notice on the actual RB19, there's what I like to call these like veins that go through its body in real chassis shape that make this undercut even more efficient and giving it a couple different streams of airflow, which really provides for a extremely fast car and how we get that beautifulness of its combined triple DRS. I love to mention that triple DRS because if you look at Red Bull on the straights and what they do to even a competitive Ferrari and its super fast engine, that thing is a machine, and every team should be looking at it. Now, AMR already improved its wing, and its wing is something similar to the actual Red Bull car, and kind of what they've been running for the past 2 years. That RB19 wing is a banger. It is a beaut on the straights, but it also gives them that proper downforce. Something Aston Martin actually has an advantage on in Red Bull is the slow speed corners and medium speed corners. It's improving upon its high speed, but that also requires a faster car with a lot less drag. Its tires are on the same level, they're just missing that little bit of pace that will be caught up to in 2023. And that's where we get into really the Imola side of the package. Now, my theory on what we're supposed to be getting in Miami are little parts to add to the rear diffuser, maybe add a couple different airflows just going to the back to add a little bit more upon that top speed, because Miami is that type of track where they need that type of improvement. Now for Imola, they're going to bring a huge floor update. And that has even been talked about from Dan Fellows in past interviews before, that a floor upgrade is coming and the importance of that will play a huge part and dictate the pace for Aston Martin. That AMR 23 is the closest thing we got right now to a really championship battle. Not even just that though, the car is only, I've mentioned this before and before and before, they have not added any really parts to that car other than its actual really huge rear wing upgrade that they added. Now this rear wing upgrade will stay and they will change the top of the rear wing depending on race by race, whether you need more downforce, less downforce, whatever is dependent on the races. Right now we needed a low downforce wing. The next track will probably use the exact same wing, a little bit of tweaks here and there on the setup, but Miami is pretty close to a Baku track. I guess the sector 1 and 2 are a little slower, and Aston Martin is going to be really quick here because tire degradation will be very important, and the actual warmth of the grid, the track, will play into their advantage. That AMR 23 is looking for a podium, and if it gets spicy between the Red Bulls, we can maybe expect a 1 or a 2. Don't want to get my hopes up, but hopefully the rain gods come and we actually get a Fernando banger.
I think the summary of the weekend is that Aston had a tricky Baku weekend, let's say, with the DRS problems and the setup. We were not that fast in any of the sessions, and we still 1 second from the podium. And Ferrari, they had the perfect weekend.
But more and more into these Imola updates, I'll be getting back to you guys when I have more of it confirmed. But the actual floor updates will bring more pace through the car, and they're probably going to start even putting into, I think they're going to start putting into these little veins that the Red Bull has, look into how that looks on the side. Just keep improving upon the already beautiful package that they have on the top. Too simple on the top, they know it, we know it. Looking at the car, you can tell that there is so much more gain to be added, and Dan Fellows is looking to add it even more. What are you guys' thoughts on this AMR 23 package coming to us and the thoughts of it becoming even closer to Red Bull? Imola is a track I would love everybody to watch as an AMR fan. That will be their closest track in both pace. Then we got a Monaco, then we got a Spain. We have 3 banger weekends for the team in green. Expect more updates, expect a lot more upgrades to be coming, and I'll be covering that soon. Please leave a like, subscribe, it would mean the world, and peace.